Hello, fellow horror addicts. Today we'll be talking about 5 true paranormal hospital stories that I have handpicked just for you. I figured they may be fitting since we've been spending more time at hospitals in these COVID days. Let's not waste any more of our precious time and get right to it.
Gentle Ghost.
We always had odd stuff happen, but the best time was one night when we got a random call upon my unit from a room the floor below us. I worked on the 5th floor tele side. The other side was oncology. The thing was, on the 4th floor, that side had been closed for a long time and there was no one down there. And the other side was a small rehab. So we get this call. No one is in the room. So I and a few others go down to that side of the hall. We find the room and confirm that no one is there. It was being used for storage, and there was no light call or phone in that room. No one could explain it. Other than that, we had call lights that would go off when no one was in those rooms. We just figured it was a ghost. I'm sensitive to the paranormal. Not that long after I started working there, about 9 times out of the 10, the elevator would open right up as I was about to push the button. This happened mostly to me, and every time I would step in and say, "Thank you, ghost."
False alarm.
I work as a CNA in a long-term care. We had one resident, Betty, who was totally independent. All ADLs were done on her own, and she did fine with it. Never had an incident. The only time she wanted help was showers, and then she only wanted you around to make sure she didn't slip and fall. Betty came down with pneumonia and had to be hospitalized. When she came back, she was too weak to do things on her own, but too stubborn to ask for help. The last thing the CNA told her before going to bed was, "If you want to get up, hit your call light. I'll come help you." Of course she didn't. She set the bed alarm to the side, climbed out of bed and fell. Betty died from the fall. No one was moved into Betty's bed afterward. The following week, the call light for the room went off at night. Thinking it was a resident in bed B, I walked down to the room to see what she wanted. I walked into the room only to see the call light for bed B and A off. The call light for bed C, Betty's unoccupied bed, was on. My eyes filled up with tears. I backed out of the room and made someone else turn the call light off.
Bloody mess.
I was working my regular 7 to 7 night shift in a bone marrow transplant unit with one other nurse. We had 5 patients, and it was about 3:30 in the morning. My coworker had just come out of room 4, and I startled her as she came around the corner. She had been emptying a urinal when the bathroom door had closed on her, which of course freaked her out, and she spilled urine all over herself. But I digress. She proceeded to tell me that there was a young gentleman who had been in that room who had died a rather gruesome death. Evidently, this man was slated to go home, but one night, around 4 in the morning, the nurses heard a thump, the sound of someone falling. They rushed in the room, and this man was in the bathroom, central line out and blood everywhere. They coded him, but he died right there in the bathroom. No one is sure why he pulled this line or what happened, but evidently the scene was a bloodbath. Horrible. Horrible. Now here comes the scary part. A few weeks later, a sweet little old lady in that room asked the nurse if someone had died in there. The nurse explained that this is a hospital, and it was likely that someone could have died. Well, the lady says, "I think a young guy died in here." The nurse asks why. The lady responds, "'Cause he's talking to me." Okay, I'm not making this up. This lady has a central line, triple lumen. The nurse goes in there later and there's blood everywhere. One of her lines is cut. Not pulled out, but cut. There are no scissors in the room. The lady says, "He did it."
I'm burning.
Okay, not my story, but something my sister witnessed when she was a med student at a level 1 trauma facility. The guy comes in from an MBA, motorcycle versus truck. She said he was a Waffle House hash brown, sliced, diced, and chunked. The guy is able to talk at the beginning, drunk, cussing the nurses and doctors trying to help him. Not a nice guy. They end up intubating the guy to preserve the airway, and the guy's going downhill fast. He codes, but they manage to bring him back. Suddenly, the guy comes completely up, rips out his tube, grabs my sister's hand, and lets out this breathy little scream. "Don't let me die. I'm going to hell. Please don't let me die." This freaks out everyone, including my sister. The guy says he woke up in hell, on fire, and keeps begging someone to check his feet for burns. Nobody could believe he pulled out his tube and was talking. Despite everything they did, the guy still died. My sister said they were all freaked out about it for weeks.
Coffee break.
I worked in a pediatric hospital and had always heard that the 4th floor right outside our oncology unit was haunted. I worked there 3/12s normally, but would pick up overtime and picked up a night shift. I was working in the NICU, which happened to also be on the 4th floor, but on the opposite side. The oncology unit had a staircase that was a shortcut down to the cafeteria, which was on the 2nd floor. At about 3 in the morning, I was ready to take a short break and wanted a cup of coffee from the cafeteria, so I decided to take that staircase. I walked through the automatic double doors and saw a kid skipping down the hall. I called out to him as I was afraid a little kid had snuck out of a patient's room. As soon as I called out to him, he turned in the blink of an eye and totally vanished. A lot of other nurses and docs had seen the same little kid skipping in that same hallway. Of course, I chalked it up to being just exhaustion and didn't really think about it much after. But you are damn sure I didn't use that hallway at night ever again. Now those are quite some scary experiences when you're in the cold, concrete walls of a hospital. I sincerely hope you do not have to visit such a place anytime soon. But if you do find yourself in an emergency bed, remember to keep a close eye on your neighboring bedmate and don't stay up too late.